Hello everyone, it is your figure break, and today on your break, I'm reviewing the 1/8 scale Momohime figure by Alter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your break. Alright, so 1/8 scale Momohime figure by Alter. Very infamous figure done by them. Now this is the recolor one, just as a heads up. It's not the original one that was released, this is the recolor one. Now, as for the box of this figure, this box is absolutely gorgeous. It has, like, Sakura petals all over it. You get to see the picture of the figure, of course, on the outside, but I really like the design of this box. I also kind of like how, like, there's a back window of kind of like a fan. That's really interesting how there's, like, a little fan-shaped window to it. But other than that, it's a pretty, normal box. Nothing really unique about it whatsoever. So, let's go ahead and open it up. So the reason why I got this figure is, of all the Alter figures, this is probably their most famous one. And I'm a really big fan of Alter myself, considering the amount of detail that they put into their work with the highlights and the shading. And seeing pictures of this figure, it's obviously very clear that this is the example of what Alter can do. So when I saw it getting a recolor and a reprint, I absolutely had to get it, and that's the reason why I got it. Alright, so here she is, all assembled, and wow, this is an amazing figure. The amount of detail on the kimono alone is extravagant. The flowers, for example, on the kimono here are so cleanly painted. I don't have any words for it to describe how clean it is. Like, there is no flaws with the line work on it at all. There's nice even gradiency within the flowers. The amount of detail that went into them is really beautiful, to be honest with you. That's the best way to describe it. The other part that's really nice about the kimono, obviously, is the bow. The bow has so much shading and highlights to it. I honestly thought that it was real. It's amazing. I'm trying to find words to describe this, because it goes from nice kind of darkish aquas to light teals. It's so precise. It's amazing. And also the little yellow flowers that are on the kimono, very nicely detailed. The other interesting too is that in terms of the texture of the kimono, it's kind of this glittery pink. It shines and glistens. It's very glossy. It's really amazing in terms of the texture of the kimono too. And there's so many gradiencies. Like on the sleeve, it goes from basically kind of like this really glossy lipstick pink all the way down to a nice matte peach color. It's really nicely done. I'm really impressed by it. So another part of her kimono is obviously her shield plates, and those are nicely done. It's not quite a black, it's almost like a really extremely dark purple, the blackness that's on the shoulder plates. It's beautiful. Also the detailing on the roping that's connecting all of the plates together is very nicely executed. It's clean, precise, and what's nice about it is that you can tell that it's metal, the plates on it, because they're kind of like battered and hammered. It's really nicely done. The other thing that I'm amazed about too is also her like bandage stockings. I think that's what they are. It's the only way that I can describe it anyways. And you can see little like dirt that's been like pushed into kind of the seams of the cloth that's been wrapped around her stockings, because you see these kind of like black dirt marks all over it. It's the amount of detail that went into him is absolutely astonishing. I absolutely love it. And speaking of the stockings, the sandals are also amazingly detailed. Like the black part of it, it's actually kind of like that, that stocking kind of texture where you can kind of see through it, but not quite. The other amazing part about the sandals is also the sole on this foot right here. The detailing on the sole of it is, oh my gosh, I can't even describe the amount of detail that's into it. It's absolutely astonishing. The other thing that I want to talk about too is the hair. The hair is beautifully sculpted. Beautifully sculpted. It's flowing, it's free, it's highlighted, it's detailed. You can almost see like perfect strands throughout the entire hair sculpt. There's no part where it's flat. There's always some kind of sculpting that's going on with the twin tails especially. Also, in terms of the highlights on it, there's kind of, it's not just matte black, there's some purples, and it almost looks slightly see-through. Like, that's the amazing part about it. It looks like hair that's actually flowing, to be honest with you. The other part also about her hair is the accessories on her head. And the flower detail is really clean and neat. The center flower goes from this very light kind of blushing pink all the way out to a red at the very edges. It's wow, just I'm obviously having a really hard time trying to describe and find words on how to express how amazing the detail is on this figure, and it is all over. I could talk for hours on this, and I'm going to. So the other amazing part obviously about this figure is the sword. The sword is, again, no flaws with it, just like the rest of the figure. The hilt on it, the wrapping that's around the handle, is actually sculpted to look 3D. So it's not perfectly, like on some swords, it's just like one solid chunk with kind of like minor sculpting of the wrapping. This has detailed wrapping. There's actually some layering to the sculpting on the hilt on it. It's very nicely done, I'd have to admit. I would not expect something like that. I'm so used to seeing swords just really, really flat sculpted. So as for her face, the face is really nicely done. There's clean lining going for the eyes and the eyebrows, very nicely done, and even like the ears are even detailedly sculpted. I've never seen such sculpted ears before. It's really interesting why they went to that extra mile, especially with the sculpting on the ears. And speaking of the face, the only flaw with it that I find with the face is that the blush on it is a little too intense. Like, it almost looks like she took out like a powder puff and like on her face like just like a minute ago, because it's really intense. Like, all I can say is she needs to learn how to use some blending. That's all I know how to. That's what I would have to say about it. So the other thing that I want to talk about is the base. The base is beautifully done. Starts off on the rocks with a light green going all the way to a dark mossy green. So beautifully done. Like, the detailing on the paint on it, you see all of like where the rocks have been battered by the river and have been worn down all smooth. It's not just perfect balls, there actually are crevices and divots in the rock. It's really nice. As for the water also, the water is kind of like this clear bluey teal plastic that's, you know, slightly see-through but not quite, and it has been highlighted by darker blues, it appears, within the plastic. And also on the edges of it, beautifully white foam detailed. It looks amazing. It looks like water that's crashing on the rocks. It's very nicely executed. So here she is with her sword fully drawn out, and it looks absolutely beautiful. The amount of detail that's on the sword. The Hamon line is very nicely done in terms of making it look organic. The back part of the blade is a nice dark gray, while the blade of it itself is a nice shiny silver, and it looks really nicely done. I am really impressed with the sword on this figure, and I'm probably going to display it this way too. As for a rating of the figure, I'm going to be giving it a 9.5. Hands down, beautiful, amazing, precise, consistent, all the words to bring benefit to this figure on how amazing it is. The kimono is absolutely jaw-dropping, with the, you know, the paint going to the peach, the detailing on the flowers, the sculpt detail on it, jaw-dropping. The stockings, same with it too. Beautifully done. I really like the little kind of like dirtiness to the stockings. Same thing with the sandals. Beautiful. The base doesn't take away from the figure, complements it very nicely. That's the kind of base that I like. Also, in terms of the hair sculpt, very nicely done. Usually you don't see so much sculpt detail in hair, but I guess Alter is like, nah, we know how to do hair sculpts, so we're going to do it right. And the only flaw that I have to say about it is, again, the intense pink on her cheeks. I don't understand why it's so intense. Kind of wish it was toned down just a little bit, but everything else outweighs that. I am so happy that I decided to put this figure in my collection. I am really happy with it. Hopefully we'll see more of amazing Alter figures in the future, because this one is definitely one that you would want to have in your collection. I am happy that I have it in mine. Okay everyone, that concludes my review of the 1/8 scale Momohime figure by Alter. I really hope you enjoyed the review, and I really hope you enjoyed your break too. And I will see you in the next video. I'll see you later.